Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 11 of Season 1 2024 of Endurance for Amateurs. At one of the shortest laps we'll see all season, the Red Bull Ring, brought to you by Ninja Botanicals and AlienAwards.net. Tonight is a 90-minute race with GTD and GTP classes. Last week marked the halfway point of the season, and a bit of a processional evening. Paul Skip earned win number 6 from pole while leading every lap, with Paletti and Terrell behind on the podium. Skip extends the still slim margin on his competitors to 6 points over Nick Terrell and 12 points over Nick Paletti. In GTDA, Ken Huber hits 9 wins in a row with a 6th pole position, and Josh Doty proved to be one of his toughest challenges on the season so far, only losing out by a few seconds in the end, with Sheldon Rosenbaum collecting 3rd place. Huber remains at the top with 455 points, with next place runner Tyler Langenberg back at 350, Travis Rowe at 340, and Josh Doty at 331. GTDB was a maiden victory and maiden pole position from Jack Lucas, who never relinquished the lead in class. Zach Nurnberger and James Foreman got their 3rd and 8th podiums respectively behind. Foreman remains in 1st with an advantage of 39 points on Jesse Coffey, but he even has more points than 2nd place GTDA driver Tyler Langenberg on the season. We should be in for an exciting race here tonight. It's a very simple track, one of the shorter ones we'll see on the season. And we have a couple drivers making their debut as well, which is extra interesting because one of them, Darren Rutherford, pipping Ken Huber in practice. So he may be able to take that spot away from Ken Huber in this qualifying session. Matthew Wyckoff, the other driver making a debut here tonight. So very keen to see what happens here tonight for this racetrack. And another track where the track limits may be an issue as we make our way through the ending of the race. It's a little bit hard to go out to keep from going out wide in some of these corners, but it's more simple. Really, only 6 or 7 real turns that these drivers have to deal with, and so you're going to see probably some pretty close qualifying times here, as there's not a lot to really separate each other. But what's really separated is the GTD and the GTP pace. In practice times, at least, it's looking anywhere from 10 to 15 seconds in pace differential. And with this being such a short track, barely over 2.6 kilometers, it's going to be a really difficult run for the GTPs to not lose time, especially through this final sector, these corners that dip down. And you got to try to stay inside, and there's going to be a lot of communication between the GT3s and the GTPs, a lot of teamwork, making sure not to lose too much time. But all alone on track right now, Nicholas Paletti puts in that first GTP time, and he's up there just 12 thousandths ahead of Jay Smart. Meanwhile, in GTD, Ken Huber leading the pack as it is currently. You can see there how many times are close. Three drivers, and 2 of them being the ones on debut here, within 2/10 of that first lap time. But we're going to see the laps come in quite fast here for the GTPs, not even getting to the 120 mark, at least for Paletti there, and waiting on some of the drivers to put some times in. Only a few GTPs actually out on track, I think. A few putting in laps currently. Paul Skip right now trying to put in his first lap, and he's got a purple sector 2. Only 3 sectors on this racetrack, so it's a purple definitely means a lot to your race time here. As he swings around the final corner of Red Bull Mobile and keeps it within that line there. Very easy to go out wide, doesn't do so there, crosses the line. What time is he going to put in here? His first time, couple tenths off from Nicholas Paletti, a 1:19.5, so still some time to be gained. Jay Smart looks like he may have made an improvement on that lap. He just needed a little bit. And it's not putting on the board, so I think that was a invalidated lap. Sheldon Rosenbaum also getting a purple in that Sector 2. Sector 2 probably the tougher of the sectors of the 3 in this racetrack, but it is the only one that really heads to the left for the most part, so stressing those right side tires a lot more than the left side, which will be asked a lot more of in the rest of the lap. Sheldon Rosenbaum provisionally up to pole position with a 1:31.2. Let's see if the times continue to fall away. But a really strong lap for him. Nathan Westland already in a strong position. He comes across the line. Doesn't look to make an improvement. Jack Lucas, potentially a good time here. Has a purple S1. That was a 31.2. Or the target time of 31.2. Looks like that must have been off track at some point there. We're already seeing the off tracks come into play. Nobody having any major incidents, but enough to invalidate the laps. Andrew McMurray gets a lap in there, putting himself in 16th place. We have a pretty big field Right now, 6 of the 7 drivers in GTP have put a time in. Still a number of GT3s to put an official lap in. And the other interesting thing with the GTP class, everybody save Keith Roycroft, who we're still waiting to see join the track. Everybody save Keith Roycroft running the Porsche here today. We've seen drivers flip and flop between the different cars in that GTP class. Every single one except for Keith picking the Porsche here. We still have that classic mix-up through the entire GT3 field. Nothing as the go-to pick, but the Ferrari does look pretty strong up there. 3 entrants into the top 5. Not a lot of green sectors being set at the bottom. A couple drivers may be making improvements. Paul Boyle's got a green in the first sector. He's currently in 6th place in that GTP field. See if he can move himself up here. Good improvement on the time, but unable to get a spot on John Kelly, but just a little bit closer to make something happen. Ken Huber makes his way with no purple sectors, but a purple lap, makes his way to first provisionally by just a couple hundredths. Meanwhile, Darren Rutherford is just put in a lap. What time is that? Eric Bellotto, just 9 thousandths off of Ken Huber. A lot of Ferraris showing up at the top of this field. I don't think Rutherford's lap was an improvement. Again, the guy in the practice session with the fastest time currently just sitting in 8th place, but still with some laps to put in. Let's see if there's some improvements. Travis Bell jumps all the way up to 4th place with that lap, so a good showing for him there. A driver who is in the overall championship contention, currently sitting 15th overall, but with some drops. He's missed three races this season so far, and with only 2 drops factored in. Of course, some attendance here and some good results will help move him up the standings some more. Paul Boyle, again, continuing to improve. Can he snatch John Kelly's position in 5th? Potentially get up to Nick Terrell there in 4th. Making good strides here in this qualifying session, Paul Boyle. And that may have been a little bit wide. Looked like the tires going outside of the red and white curb, which I believe are the limits for this track. Let's see if this lap does count or not. It does count, so I was wrong, and not that curb. He was in track, makes himself in 5th place, hops John Kelly a few tenths away from Nick Terrell. Jay Smart is leading that GTP class. He's not on track, so he's not going to improve. Paletti, I don't know if he has laps to do. He is out on track. Could just be getting some warm-up here. Matthew Wyckoff, like I said, the other driver debuting here today, puts himself up in the 6th, and Darren Rutherford right at the very end, this may be his last lap, I assume it is able to get to 4th place. 4 drivers within 1/10 of each other at the front of this field, and I really don't know what way this race is going to go. I mean, Ken Huber may get a customary pole as he typically does, but this looks really tough at the start of this race for him to keep all of these guys behind him. If anyone has exceptional race pace here, they really could. They've shown the qualifying pace to keep up here. So interested to see what happens here tonight with that development. But 18 drivers all within 1 second. I mean, I know it's a shorter lap, but again, just the reduction of turns and maybe the familiarity, because we did have Willow Springs, which was shorter and shorter lap times than here, but with it being a little bit more, I mean, it's a brand new track. It was one that drivers had less familiarity with, potentially making more mistakes and there being more of a split. But a lot of most drivers here will have had a good amount of experience at this track and a lot of really good showings and some interesting conclusions. Again, we got Ken Huber obviously fighting from behind, or fighting from ahead, but fighting a lot of drivers right behind him. Paul Skip, our championship leader up in the GTPs, he's only there in 3rd place right now, with Nicholas Paletti right ahead and Nicholas Terrell right behind. So he's going to have to do a lot of defending and attacking here at the start of this race. And we've had a lot of really clean starts to these races. Richard Curry trying to improve his time. He's got 2 green sectors. He's in 14th place, 7/10 back. Where does this put him? It is an improvement. Not able to grab another position, so it looks like just came undone in that final sector, as he did have a good couple first 2 sectors for that lap. And that is an example of going out wide there in that first turn. And Remus is very difficult, or Niki Lauda curve, excuse me, very difficult if you're battling another driver. If you're on the outside, it's going to be difficult to not shoot out wide there. That curb can end some races as it can spin you to the inside. Qualifying is over, so we're going to get to this warm-up period. We'll be right back with you in a few minutes and read out the results. All right, we are back, and here is our qualifying order. Jay Smart takes pole position in the GTP class, right ahead of Nicholas Paletti, 10th and a half back. Then to Paul Skip in 3rd, Nick Terrell in 4th, Paul Boyle 5th, John Kelly 6th, and Keith Roycroft running out the field. Ken Huber takes another pole, but not by much, 9 thousandths to Eric Bellata in 2nd, Sheldon Rosenbaum in 3rd, and Darren Ruford getting 4th on debut. Continuing down the field, we have Travis Bell and Matthew Wyckoff. Wyckoff also on debut here, 2 tenths back from Ken Huber. Nathan Westland and James Foreman, Jack Lucas and Tyler Langenberg. Aaron Claybaugh, Josh Doty, Kevin Berquist, Richard Curry, Travis Rowe, and Jesse Coffey round out the top 16. Following them, Chris Newby, Tony Watson, Adri Garcia, Jeff McDonald, Andrew McMurray, Andrew Hicks, Greg Holland, Dan Barnett, and Christopher Craig, who hopefully we'll see out on track here today. It remains to be seen. Had to miss last race, so we'll see how he does here today. Drivers are getting ready to go here. Not a long pace that they've got. We're already halfway through the lap of short racetrack, but I saw a GTP that was at the back of the field. Keith Roycroft, some error, because he didn't put a qualifying time in, and somehow that has put him at the back of the entire field. So I don't know if they're going to try to get him to filter through the entire GT3 field. He doesn't have a lot of time, and he's got like 30 cars to get through, so we'll see what happens. He's trying to do that. May have got it off track there. A lot of confusion, but Keith Roycroft trying to join the field there at the back. Jay Smart, the pace car, pulls in. Jay Smart coming around the final corner of Red Bull Mobile, and he's going to take this start with not a lot of time left. I think Roycroft has rejoined the back. I don't think he has yet, actually. Jay Smart waiting on the green. No passing until after turn 1, but after then, it's fair game. He accelerates down to the start. There's Keith Roycroft making his way through the whole field, so he doesn't have to deal with that. Jay Smart taking turn 1 of Niki Lauda curve. No mistakes, but a little bit of wiggle. Everybody's staying within the bounds back there. We wait for some action to start to heat up here. Down into Remus, this will easily be the most popular passing opportunity. It's uphill, it's tight. It follows along straight, the longer straight of the track into turn 3 of Remus. And Jay Smart not suffering any threat from behind so far. But the racing is on. As we continue through this field, right now, nobody has lost any positions. Nobody has made any mistakes. Still plenty close up and down throughout this field in both classes. Keith Roycroft trying to catch up to the back there. Skins not really sure what error happened there that sent him to the back, but at least he has rejoined this race a little bit wide, but that is still within the bounds there. Very lenient track limits there. Not as lenient, or more lenient than it used to be. Much better now when it got changed a little bit ago. Jay Smart leads him through this entire lap. He's going to lead the start of this race after the first lap and really not being threatened too much from behind. Meanwhile, back in the GT3, Sheldon Rosenbaum already trying to get to second place, and Eric Bellata. Eric Bellata first race back after a while off. Rosenbaum not taking too many undue risks into Rent. Very difficult to make a move happen into there. It's possible you can really try to threaten another driver through there, but lap one's going to be difficult. Out wide, it looks like, for Sheldon Rosenbaum. And I think he's going to be serving a slowdown as it looks like he's pulling off to the side. Yeah, very bad time to be hitting that slowdown. Unfortunately, losing a couple spots early. Nicholas Paletti has taken the lead from Jay Smart. Jay Smart out wide, it looks like, in turn 1. And Paletti is going to just cruise into first here. Not through turn 1, actually through Remus. Easy to go wide there. A common place to make a mistake. So we will take a look and try to get an idea what happened there. Here was Nicholas Paletti making the move on Jay Smart. Yeah, Jay Smart locking up the brakes just a little bit, and that is just enough for him to lose that position. Not a huge mistake, but unfortunately with how close these drivers are, just couldn't afford to have that happen this early. A lot of close battles in GT3. Sheldon Rosenbaum goes out wide. Matthew Wyckoff looks like he's going to take that spot. I don't know what happened to Rosenbaum there. I don't know if he just missed his braking point. Maybe just suffering a little bit of lost momentum after that slowdown that he earned trying to go for second place and losing a spot, but luckily not more than that. But that was an interesting moment there. Travis Rowe looks like he's had a big incident here. Is that, yeah, clipping the gravel. It didn't look like a mistake. He just didn't realize how far out wide he was in that corner and having to let basically the entire field through at that point. So Travis Rowe is last place now. I don't know how much damage he got from hitting the inside wall there. It was a generally friendly tap, but we'll see what happens later in this race. Jack Lucas in 9th, trying to claim 8th place from James Foreman. Really thinking about it into Niki Lauda curve. Nothing happening so far. Still close up in that GTP field as well. Jay Smart really trying to challenge Paletti to get that position back, with Paul Skip staying there in 3rd place. Garcia getting a spot on Tony Watson, and McMurray getting the spot on Jeff McDonald at the same time. Let's see that pass from Garcia. Yeah, Tony Watson nearly losing control through Niki Lauda and just having to cede that position as he loses momentum. And then, just right behind, we see McDonald with a stronger exit than, or McMurray, sorry, with a stronger exit than McDonald through that through the corner 1, and just able to pip ahead into Remus. Don't really know exactly where to be paying attention to in this race right now. It's close all the way throughout. Every single position being battled for early, again, with such a, not just being a short track, but being a very simple track. There's not a lot that can separate these drivers from each other. Jay Smart going for the inside, and Remus, it looks like he's got it slowed down enough. Does he have it stopped? No, Paletti swinging around the outside. Difficult defense to make happen, but a nice move nonetheless. So strong defense by Paletti. Jay Smart certainly seems like he smells a little bit of blood, but just didn't have the pace to make that happen there. Darren Rutherford, after maybe a little bit of a disappointing qualifying, is now up to 2nd place, a 2.5 off Eric Bellata. Bellata just moving out of the way there. Did he potentially have a slowdown that he was serving? You see Rutherford, I think maybe just defending the inside, just wanted to defend the inside, and there's just so much more run from Rutherford, nothing was going to be able to happen for him. We do have Christopher Craig out on track. Unfortunately, he's had an incident back here. And, he's missing his rear wing already. So already had a crash of some sort. And no wonder he wasn't able to survive through that part. Jay Smart losing more. Jay Smart into the pits. What is very odd timing, unless he has damage that we don't know about. It looks like he does. Looks like he's struggling to drive the car. I mean, this was when Paul Skip, let's see, Smart colliding with Christopher Craig. Their huge collision, literally just sending him straight into the pit entry. I mean, conveniently timed, I guess, to be able to use that fast repair, but he's going to be off strategy, and I don't think Christopher Craig could do anything to control his car. I know he surely feels really bad about that. Smart, I don't think a lot that he could have done about that incident either. Shocking incident there for Jay Smart. Let's see if we can get a look at that again from Smart's perspective. This is Smart. I just don't. There's no way he could have assumed that Craig was going to be coming so fast onto the track. Would have just assumed he was going to stay out wide. But I don't think Craig really had any control over his car there. If he did, he just didn't see those guys coming, was trying to slip into the pit lane. So unfortunate incident there for our pole position sitter, who fell back behind Nicholas Paletti momentarily. It seemed like he was challenging for that first place spot, but it's going to be a long race now for him. He's not out of it, but he's off the strategy, and he's just going to be trying to pick up positions as he can. By just surviving through this race. He did stay in, so we do still have him. Christopher Craig in the pits currently. Not sure if he's going to be rejoining or not. But I imagine he probably had to tow. I don't think that he'd be able to drive after that incident. Oh, Jack Lucas getting that spot on Tyler Langenberg into the braking zone of Schlossgold. Another popular passing opportunity, especially as long as you can keep it stuck on the inside. We've seen a lot of F1 incidents there. Drivers shooting out a little bit wide, getting a penalty, knocking a driver out of the race. Didn't happen there. Langenberg and Lucas were fighting a lot into that turn, and yeah, Lucas taking the inside. The inside's going to be how you take a position, but you just got to make sure to keep it clean, which is a little bit easier said than done. Langenberg not letting it go yet, but he kind of has to stay right on the back because Aaron Claybaugh is also just a couple tenths back. Very close between these three currently, with James Foreman starting to step away a little bit from these guys. We'll see how this is able to shake out here. And again, excuse me for not having a Rutherford and Wyckoff update. I believe they've both qualified into A-Class. So Nathan Westland's, by my estimations, is leading the GT3 field. And speaking of GT3s, that's what's getting passed right now by the GTP. So Paletti in the lead by a few tenths over Paul Skip. But now they're coming up through the really tough bulk of this traffic. It's going to be difficult to not lose a lot of time or get any damage or lose any positions. It is a plenty wide track, which should benefit them. It's not a necessarily tight track, and the GTPs are a whole lot faster here in a lot of these corners, but any minor mistake can really give a lot to your opponent behind. So watch as they pick their way through the field for the hardest time here and seeing if anything happens to them. Paletti finding some decently timed traffic. He's going to swipe in between, inside, outside. GT3 is all well aware of these drivers around, and Paletti desperately just not losing anything. Purple lap for Jay Smart there. Again, Smart actually able to run in some clean air right now, which that's the one thing that's been nice, I guess, about the early incident is he does get to run in some hot laps, but with being off strategy, it means he's going to make another pit stop. Everyone else doesn't have to. Ooh, and yeah, we saw that happening there. I think it's James Foreman needing to make the turn in for that corner, and Paul Skip desperately trying to follow through. Luckily, just a bit of a tap. No driver too out of sorts from that, but that was really close to being a major incident. And the kind of pass I think that we'll see has to happen for these GTPs if they're really going to try to stay close to each other through these lapping events. I mean, Paletti still, we've seen him with a lot of hairy moments, and he's only halfway through the field, essentially. Still close between these two, trying to make their way around Jack Lucas now, who's in 9th place. And Paul Skip is right on the bumper of Nicholas Paletti. The only thing that's helping Paletti as well is that the cars are kind of in the way. It's limiting where Skip can put his car as far as trying to be able to make a move happen. Now past Sheldon Rosenbaum in 7th place. Only a few more cars to make their way through. Again, these battles going on through the GT3 field as well. But we get to watch both things happen right now. Paul Skip, unfortunately, a little bit later there. I think that was Matthew Wyckoff in that brown Lamborghini. Again, one of the other Lamborghini. To both new drivers making their debuts in the Lamborghini, which is not a car we've often seen outside of Ken Huber running it. So that's an interesting choice there. Not seen everybody expect success from it. And it looks like they've made their way basically through the entire field. Now just Rutherford and Huber to make their way through. John Kelly is very close to Keith Roycroft. Roycroft recovering from whatever happened at the start of the race and making his way up a couple spots from Jay Smart's mistake and getting around John Kelly at some point in this race. But he is suffering a lot of pressure now as he makes his way through the majority of this field. In the GT3s, Nathan Westland doing a lot of defense here down the back straight. Or he's actually doing the attacking, excuse me. Driver in front is Matthew Wyckoff. He's the one having to do the defense through technically corner 2 after Nicky let a curve into Remus. Nothing happening there as the GTPs of Kelly and Roycroft making their way up to the back of him. Even closer battle further back. Adrian Garcia trying to make the move, sends it on the inside. Does he get it done? I don't think he does. Christopher Newby is going to stay ahead. Andrew McMurray is now going to get involved. Excuse me. Jesse Coffey stays ahead of Chris Newby. Adrian Garcia gets involved. Those three drivers are what's involved in this battle right now. Garcia trying to dummy a move to the inside. Does anything happen? We saw an off track there for Keith Roycroft. Keith Roycroft having an incident there going out wide in Schlossgold. I think we can expect what happened there, just a bit of understeer. So no move able to be made by Garcia at that point. Tony Watson staying close with McMurray as well. And Travis Rowe, we saw have the incident earlier. He's back there in 24th. That's why he's lost those positions. Other than that, other than the big crash that Christopher Craig had, and then incident with Travis Rowe, no driver really making too many huge mistakes. We saw Sheldon Rosenbaum lose some spots early, but that was really just due to the slowdown that he got at just in lap 1, which is just a really inopportune time to have that happen. But Watson trying to make a move. Is also further up is Garcia making another attack on Newby. Wait to see if anything happens from it. Nothing into turn 1. We move up the track to Garcia, see if he has any run. on the same car right ahead of him of Christopher Newby is also trying to get up to Jesse Coffey. Jesse Coffey sitting second in the GTDB championship points, but right now back in 15th place, so may not get a ton of points here unless he's able to climb a lot of points. The GTDB class is still very close. Jack Lucas behind him by just 8 points, I believe. 20 points back to Nathan Westland, who's having a great race himself, up in 6th. So a bit of a dangerous race here for Coffey if he's not able to climb some more positions here. Josh Doty losing that position to Richard Curry. Let's see what happened there. How did Richard Curry get this done? Move there. I think Doty just afraid to go out wide, had to really let off in that corner, and Curry taking advantage of that inside line and accelerating earlier, getting ahead. Just a minor mistake for Doty, but enough to lose him a spot. And we saw him out here last week in 2nd place, currently running in 13th. Very different tracks between COTA and the Red Bull Ring, so it is difficult to transfer a lot of experience from last week over into this week. Other than, I guess, just avoiding the off tracks, but it's a very different type of racetrack other than that. So he struggles to hold on here. I think he's fallen back a little bit after that pass, although the pass really was just made from a mistake. Oh, and Tyler Langenberg getting Jack Lucas. That happened really fast. Lucas maybe with a slowdown down the straight. Let's see if that made sense. Yeah, he's off to the side. I think maybe serving a slowdown that he earned there in turn 1. Easy move for Langenberg. Langenberg now up 1 from where he started. No driver up more than 3 so far. The one with the most game positions is Andrew McMurray there in 18th. He started in 21st. No other driver really climbing up through the field. Everybody's staying really competitive and really close. Jesse Coffey, driver who I pinged as one who needs to get some spots. He's staying close with Kevin Berquist. He's going to lose a little bit of time there as he allows Jay Smart to swing his way around. And Smart has really started to close the gap to 6th place right now. I think when he came out, it was like 50 seconds. So he's really speeding things up. I know there was an incident for Keith Roycroft going off track, which yeah, we have that. We can and we maybe have something for Greg Holland. Greg Holland in the pits, toe into the pits potentially. Let's see what happened to him here. Holland into the braking zone of the interior of Roush and just, yeah, pulling off the track. Not sure if there was something that spurred that, but maybe calling it quits on the night. Have to see if he gets back out on track. Maybe a mechanical issue that he had as well. Darren Rutherford up at the front of the field again, had the fastest time in practice. After getting around Bellata, was a 1.5 seconds back, now down to 0.4 back from Ken Huber, who has not been beat since week 1, remind you. Ken Huber has been on a winning streak since week 2. He hasn't always gotten pole position. He's typically got the lead later in the race. So even if he loses the lead here, of course, anything can happen still. Also further back, Garcia and Newby fighting for position. Into Remus. Garcia sending it down the inside. Nice move, getting it slowed down. Gives plenty of room to Craig on the or Newby on the outside, and Newby reclaiming that position. That's exactly how racing should look here at this racetrack. And we need to keep an eye on this lead here. 0.6, enough to pressure Ken Huber a little bit, I think. Aaron Claybaugh has been on the back of Jack Lucas here for a while. Lucas just ceded that position at Langenberg a little bit ago. A lot of smoke there. I don't know if that was from any of these 3 drivers, maybe from something a little bit further up. But Jack Lucas just ceding that position last lap to Tyler Langenberg with the slowdown in turn 1. You see from Claybaugh's point of view, it threw Nicky Lauda curve. And again, that sausage curve that's there on the outside, very dangerous. I think we saw Tony Watson earlier nearly losing control after probably hitting that curb. So definitely in your best interest to try to keep it pinned inside. Garcia maybe making the move here better. He's a lot further ahead from Newby than he was last lap around. He's well ahead now. Can he take the racing line? He is going to occupy the racing line. Position gained for Adri Garcia. Nice move. Still close for these guys up here. currently battling for a 9th place in class. In Curry and Doty, not too far off the back of this trio, but it's these three that are extra close to each other currently, and allowing James Foreman to have a bit of a safe gap behind him. I mean, 2.2 seconds is bigger than everybody on the track has in GT3 field, save Eric Bellata, who, or Travis Bell, I guess, who is 3.5 seconds off of Eric Bellata there. So, or excuse me, Darren Rutherford, who Darren Rutherford is maybe making a move here for the lead. Looks like a poorly timed traffic for Jay Smart. Rutherford has a run through the final corner of Red Bull Mobile into Niki Lauda curve. He's going to try a send. He's keeping it close on the inside. Ken Huber lets him have it, goes deep. Is he going to, he's not keeping it on track. Goes a little bit off track. He's going to have to give up that position, potentially getting a slowdown. As Ken Huber edges ahead here, he's going to have the inside of this corner, which is the preferred line. A little bit braver on the brakes by Darren Rutherford, keeping him really close inside. A bit of a tap, potentially. Rutherford maybe taking the lead here. It's going to be another drag race now into Schlossgold, and Ken Huber close enough to earn some racing room here. Difficult to swing it around the outside here. Can Rutherford do it? Rutherford around the outside has to give the room on the inside, but now the next turn becomes the inside. Again, Rutherford is staying. They're just separated by a few thousandths, and he has the inside of Roush, and it looks like he's for now going to claim the lead of this race. This is the biggest we've seen Ken Huber stressed all season, and he has now fallen back to second place after a 9-race win streak. Let's see if he's able to reclaim that first position, but a great move by Darren Rutherford through basically the entire course of this track, save the final sector. Sectors 1 and 2 battling through that whole section. Very wide for him there. Maybe just enough to do an incident point, maybe not getting a slowdown. I'd love to see if Ken Huber earning any more incident points than he has in previous races. He's been able to be a little bit more relaxed in the past, maybe able to get the 0x as a result, but a little bit more under stress this time, which similarly, Nicholas Paletti under stress for the lead. The gap was 1.2 seconds, now is down to just a few tenths for the lead as Paul Skip catches up through that round of traffic again. Such a short track that they are already making their way through the lapping segment again. Not only is it a short track, but just the pace advantage that the GTP has is really great through a lot of these corners. And it is really making a lot of interesting developments here. Paul Skip has typically been a driver who's very strong through traffic. It's not what Paletti wants to hear, as he's leading the race just barely ahead of Paul Skip. No attempts yet to be made for the lead. Making their way through the rest of the field. Again, now, ooh, it's a little close there for Travis Bell. Bell is wide. He might be losing a spot to Matthew Wyckoff here. Let's take a look right now. Okay, able to stay ahead. So we go back to this GTP battle that's brewing. They're about to make their way past the last couple GT3s. So it's then going to be back to raw pace. Does Paul Skip have the raw pace to pass Nicholas Paletti? Qualified behind him. Matthew Wyckoff does take a position from Travis Bell there. Seemed like the battle had stopped, but he did lose that position now. As we make sure nothing happens in here, we'll get a replay of that event. Skip, nothing doing into turn 1. So let's see that replay real quick. Matthew Wyckoff just had that run into Rent, I guess through Verth. Just a stronger move, and that is a brave spot to be making a pass happen, but he does it anyway. Well done, although Matthew Wyckoff is now down to 6th. What happened? Did he potentially, he may have had a slowdown. Paul Skip not getting the spot, so let's see if we can ping that or not, because Travis Bell gains a spot here, but so does Nathan Westland. How does Nathan Westland get by in this incident? That is Nick Terrell making his way through. And a collision between the two that puts Wyckoff off just a little bit, enough for Nathan Westland to take advantage. And as I speak as well, Sheldon Rosenbaum just made a spot on Matthew Wyckoff. Wyckoff had just made a really good move, and he has now lost 3 positions over the course of this lap. He's not even halfway done. So falling back now down to 7th place, had gained a lot of positions at the start of this race. Was up to 4th, now down to 7th here. So a tough lap for him. Skip just keeping pace right now with Paletti, but not enough that he's making a move into any of these corners. Claybaugh still close with Jack Lucas. Is this the time he's going to make something happen? Into Rent, we've seen a couple brave moves made. He's pulling out to the inside, doesn't actually think about it, but he is extra close. Might be trying to scare Lucas into getting an off track and getting a bit of a slowdown. We've seen it work already in this race. Both testing the track limits on the outside. Is Claybaugh going to make something happen at turn 1 potentially? I don't think that he is. Repping that Sheets car. He's a big fan of it. A regional thing was a discussion in the Discord, but hopefully expands a little bit more westward for the majority of us. Kevin Berquist getting a spot further back on Garcia, who is fighting for that again. Jesse Coffey desperately trying to defend from both drivers. Doesn't really know where to place his car. And then just behind that, McMurray getting the spot on Chris Newby as well. And Chris Newby getting that spot back. So as they're fighting this, Newby on the outside, McMurray on the inside in the Taco Bell, I think he's going to have a better run here. About equal, but he is ahead. Let's see what happens heading into Schlossgold. Is he going to be able to maintain that advantage? As they've flip-flopped positions a few times, he is ahead by 300ths, 200ths, and about dead even into the braking zone. Much deeper by Newby, but an easier line for McMurray, and he's going to seal him off on the exit there. Garcia close to Coffey. Coffey has been driving all over his mirrors in these last few laps from the drivers behind. And currently in 14th place. Garcia up 4 spots, so one of the bigger climbers on the race so far. Tony Watson, Chris Newby battling for position further back. So Newby was just battling with McMurray and now fallen back to behind McDonald and Watson. So a tough reaction, I guess, from that battling. Maybe just cooking the tires a little bit. As we see, he's gone off track, so this is how he loses the time. So this was him right behind McMurray, so close that he just loses control of the car. Actually taps the back of McMurray. I think McMurray's able to save it much easier than he does. Probably didn't even earn any incident points for that as far as the 0x, but that 1x off track is going to be applied to both drivers. Pit stop for Tony Watson. We are about on schedule to make that happen if you're going to do a 2-stop, but the GT3s have generally been a 1-stop race, so he may have some damage here today. Garcia trying to claim another position here. Would be the first guy to be up 5 on the race. A few guys up 4, Garcia, McMurray, and Barnett. Can he get a 5th position here? And Rutherford up 3 spots. Can't gain any more spots. He's already in first place. And Huber still keeping it close with him. We generally saw at the start of this season when Huber didn't have as much qualifying pace as he's had. Ooh, nearly getting into the back of Coffey for Garcia there, but able to stay out of the rear of that BMW. Maybe the only BMW we have, other than Travis Bell, only 2 BMWs represented here today. Travis Bell, who's in 4th place, and Jesse Coffey there in 14th. Not a popular car here today. But we generally saw Ken Huber stay close behind and make the pass through the pits. Just having a much shorter stop and maybe doing some fuel saving by staying close with that driver in front. Is that what he's going to try to do now that he's lost that first place position? We'll have to see. We haven't seen him try to make a lot of passing moves on track. He generally hasn't had to. He's mostly just had to defend or just drive in clear air. So this is an interesting challenge from a unknown driver for Ken Huber here tonight. Nathan Westland, who is our top running B-class driver, is looking to gain another spot on Travis Bell here into 4th overall. Already he's got 5th, up a couple spots. He's just a bit of a run here into Schlossgold. Not going to be anything where he's making a move yet, but he has been slowly catching up to Bell. Looks like he's got a better line here on the exit. Is he going to try to make something happen at this point? He's got the acceleration. He's got the better line, but he has the outside now, unfortunately, here to Roush. And it's going to be difficult to swing it around. Travis Bell giving him plenty of room. Still fighting. Now going to be heading into Verth. And I think he's going to be sealed out here by Travis Bell. Let's see. And Sheldon Rosenbaum's going to take advantage. Nathan Westland did nothing wrong, I think, trying to make that happen. But, okay, staying ahead of Rosenbaum. Luckily not losing the position from that attempt. But it just really goes to show it's a pass or be passed in this current setup with how close these guys are. And a failed pass attempt is just so brutal to your race momentum sometimes. Good recovery for Nathan Westland to stay ahead of Rosenbaum. in that scenario there. For 1 second, we had Ken Huber a couple tenths off of Darren Rutherford. They're heading down the main straight. I don't think he's going to be trying anything too brave at this point, but he is close enough. We need to be paying attention, at least into the braking zone of Remus. He's very close, enough that even the slightest mistake from Rutherford in front could be enough for Ken Huber to pounce. Matthew Wyckoff also finally trying to claim back some of these positions. He's lost a pretty late braking move by him there. Don't know if he has the drive out of the exit here. It's going to be neck and neck heading into Schlossgold. Let's see how they do on the brakes. Wyckoff and Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum a little bit ahead. He's going to have to take the outside, not the preferred line unless you really have some confidence about your grip through there. And a collision. I think that he thought he was clear, and he is going to get passed by Matthew Wyckoff. Looking like he just misjudged the turnover. He started to drift over the track there, I think, before Wyckoff was entirely cleared. But luckily, not a lot more than just a little bit of tire smoke happening there. So I think everything went out fair through there. Let's try to take a look at that pass that was made again. Yeah, I think Rosenbaum kind of turning across a little too early in that instance, but really nothing undue to either driver for the remainder of this race. GTP's Paul Skip is again close to Nicholas Paletti. Will he make any move? They're now starting this traffic run, so Skip has actually been able to stay close through the clean running, and where he has, at least so far in this race, done better in the traffic. Now they're about to hit a lot of these cars. So very curious to see what happens. Also, as we look back, Travis Rowe and Tony Watson fighting for position and trading spots a few times here, heading through Roush. Looks like Watson's maybe got it done, but swinging around there outside is Travis Rowe, not giving up on this race. Tony Watson giving him the room. Travis Rowe now through Verth, still just trying to earn enough room, and I think Tony Watson getting it finally completed there. Difficult battle for him right there. Paul Skip not particularly catching up now through this section. Keith Roycroft having an incident. Let's see what happens to him here. He falls back from 6th to 7th. That really came out of nowhere. I mean, maybe it looked like it was a little bit rotation-y, but I didn't see a spin coming there. There through the exit of Verth, a difficult corner, losing 12 seconds or so in that incident, despite it not really looking too graphic. Nathan Westland again trying to make something happen on Travis Bell. Doesn't have to worry as much about the car behind. Last time he tried to make the pass on Travis Bell, nearly lost that spot to Sheldon Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum has now been overtaken by Wyckoff, but a good safe 1.5 gap, which in this race, a 1.5 is a blessing to have, even 30 minutes in, as Westland tries to size up something on Bell here. Huber staying close with Rutherford. I'm not anticipating a move being made for the lead here before the pit stop, just because it's what we've generally seen from Ken Huber when he's been behind. Again, early in the season, he did a lot of running in the first stints. There's Paletti heading his way through. He did a lot of his running in his first stints behind Eric Bellata, who got a few pole positions early in the season and didn't really try to ever make a move on him early in the race, just passed him through the pits. So I would imagine Ken Huber's just going to be sticking there. I think he's going to stay close, but I wouldn't be expecting a move to be made. But anything can happen here in these races. And we don't know anything about Darren Rutherford. We don't know where his strengths lie. Ken Huber has, of course, been essentially mistake-free throughout this entire season. Most races getting literally 0 incident points, but we haven't seen anything major happen with him on the season so far. I said potentially maybe something in. I mean, he made a mistake in qualifying of week 1, and that was about it. Paul Skip really close to Paletti. That set of traffic right there. Only a couple drivers left to get their way through. Now just Huber and Rutherford, but for a second there, Paul Skip had it below 2/10. They're going to get by both drivers, I think, before turn 1. It's not. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not for Paul Skip. Skip is doing it. He's doing it. So this is going to be bad for Rutherford on the exit. Rutherford going out a little bit wide. Is Ken Huber going to pounce? I don't think he is. It doesn't look like he's trying to. We'll keep an eye on this. Ken Huber does have a run. Does he take advantage of it? He's got the overspeed. He just has to because he didn't get held up there in turn 1. I don't think trying too hard But yeah, that passing opportunity either. And actually, Ken Huber is ahead. Ken Huber is ahead. Through Remus. There's a mistake on the acceleration by Darren Ruford. Looks like just that tight steering angle gave him a little bit of wheel spin and losing the position. Ken Huber takes the spot. I don't think was really planning on making that pass happen. Let's take a look at a replay of this. Yeah, Darren Rutherford hit that inside curb. It spat him a little bit more outside than I think he wanted, and trying to get accelerated, losing control of the back of the car. With the traction control on these cars, it doesn't happen for very long or very often, but it was enough to slow him down for Ken Huber to sail around the outside. So a interesting development there, because I already was worried that Rutherford may be under a little bit of threat in the pit stop cycle if that were to happen to Ken Huber's typical specifications. But now it's even worse because he's going to be potentially ahead going into that time frame. Looking further back, Doty trying to make the move on Aaron Claybaugh. Claybaugh is, or on Richard Curry, excuse me. Claybaugh is ahead, still trying to make the move on Jack Lucas. Those two have been tied to each other since the start of this race, and I don't think the positions have even swapped. Also, Travis Rowe did repass Tony Watson. These two have been having a wonderful battle at the back of the racetrack here. Both have had some incidents that have unfortunately put them a little bit to the back of the field, so they got some gap to be making up. But both driving plenty fast right now, and the track seems to be in friendly conditions for the majority of these guys. Let's see, the track temperature is 42 degrees Celsius. It is hot. It's just not the biggest tire wear track of all time, for certain. And for those curious, 42 degrees Celsius, 107 degrees Fahrenheit. So pretty toasty track, not the hottest we've ever seen, for sure. But generally on the season, we've been seeing 100 or below that. Lock up for John Kelly there in the background of these two fighting here. We jump up a little bit ahead of these guys. Claybaugh catching up to Lucas, who's catching up to Langenberg. These three have been in order for a while now, for probably 20 laps. We see if any advancement can be made. Just a little bit of pulling back and forth now through this section. As we hit we're now 35 minutes into this race, over a third of the way through. We're going to take just a few-minute break, keep the action running on screen, and be right back with you in just a few minutes. it back. And as a confirmation for the incident that we saw earlier in the first couple laps of Christopher Craig crashing into Jay Smart, confirmation that he had a mechanical failure on his end, wasn't able to control the car. Obviously apologizing to Jay Smart. Really nothing Jay could do to avoid that. Don't think there was anything to expect that incident to happen. And Smart maybe not having the best of luck on the season. Travis Bell also maybe not having the best luck. Did he keep it out of the wall there? You can see the tire marks. That's through Rent. And just completely losing control. Was that due to some battling potentially? Don't often see a car lose control there. We're on board with Travis Bell into the second to last corner. And, oh, just a little spooked. Just got spooked by Jay Smart coming through. Had like a double take that he did. And then I think just was kind of frazzled there. Does keep it out of the wall for some major damage. But down a few spots now. So Travis Bell falls back to 11th place with a plenty fine car. Getting passed by another GTP. He's going to be having nightmares of that for the next few laps. Josh Doty here in 13th, trying to get up to 12th place, excuse me. Really pressuring Richard Curry right now. Curry looked a little bit out of sorts through that apex, but plenty ahead enough to not worry behind. Yeah, Bell losing back 5 positions in that incident. Lucky to get it going again. He's got Richard Curry right behind. So these two drivers that we're watching, this is just right behind that car of Travis Bell. Bell, again, in one of the only 2 BMWs. Curry here in the Ferrari, which is a popular car up here at the front of the field. In the top 12, we're seeing half of the drivers in the top 12 running the Ferrari, and 3 of the top 5 in the Lamborghini. Nicholas Paletti makes his way through. Paletti's got a safer gap than he's had for a lot of this race. 2.5 back to Paul Skip. Looks like when that incident happened between Skip and Rutherford, it wasn't really an incident, just kind of them slowing each other down a little bit that caused Ken Huber to get the lead again. It looks like Skip hasn't been able to really recover gap-wise, and actually he's fallen back even further as some poorly timed traffic there in that section. Matthew Wyckoff has all of a sudden gotten really close with Nathan Westland. Westland up a few spots, doing really well. Top B-class runner, may lose a position here. Wyckoff unable to get it done on the brakes, has the outside line. Keith Roycroft gonna maybe go in between the two. He does go to the inside. So Westland's safe for the time being, for the very, very local time being. But I think he's going to be able to lead now through Schlossgold, and another attack will have to be mounted by Matthew Wyckoff. Wyckoff has had an up-and-down race here in his debut, but up in 5th place is a very strong showing, qualified in 6th, so very fast driver that we have here tonight. And again, interesting to see the Lamborghini repped by someone other than Ken Huber. We've only seen it a couple times by some other drivers. They generally don't seem to be all that happy with it, as they haven't used it to a lot of success outside of Huber. But Rutherford and Wyckoff using it well today here. It's an incident for Keith Roycroft. He's stuck on the outside of Rent. It's exactly where we saw Travis Bell have an incident, just a little bit further down the track. Hopefully no damage that he's got there. Eric Bellata all of a sudden has made it a 3-man game for the lead. We were talking about Huber and Rutherford. Well, now Bellata has found some pace here in the middle of this race and has brought the gap to Rutherford down to 0.6. Looks like Rutherford may have made a little bit of a mistake there in turn 1. Fell back a little bit further from Huber. But Bellata is certainly in this game. Oh, and he nearly loses control as the commentator Curse almost claims him. A little bit of oversteer from some wheel spin there in the exit, and he's going to fall back to a 2.5 off of Rutherford. Going to need to reclaim some of that gap. Josh Doty again continues to be close to Richard Curry ahead. Still hasn't made the move happen. Nick Terrell making his way through. Nick Terrell having a bit of a quiet evening here tonight in 3rd place. Not stressed behind from Paul Boyle, 7 seconds back, but 16 seconds to that duo in front. Paul Skip has now closed to 1 second, and Jay Smart may have just had another incident here. It's John Kelly. I think this is for position that he's trying to make the move. Don't see Oh, and the GT3, don't know which car that was, but he looks like he hit that sausage. He was trying to stay out of the way, I think, and the sausage curb pushing him inside into J Smart's car. Unfortunately, a night to forget for J Smart, despite the really strong qualifying showing, and unfortunately, you just don't get points for the qualifying. You don't ever know what's going to happen in the race. Sheldon Rosenbaum coming into the pits, Travis Bell coming into the pits. So some early pits for some competitors here. Interesting to see where this places them at the end of the race. Yeah, unfortunate incident for J Smart there. Don't think it was the fault of the driver behind. Yeah, it was Dan Burnett. Dan Burnett was the GT3 involved there. I think he was just trying to stay out of the way, but you can't go outside with that sausage curb there because you push up against it, it's just going to push back on you. So I think he did what he could. Adrian Garcia making a move on Josh Doty. Josh Doty was so close to Richard Curry. He's now lost a spot. So we wait to see if Jack Lucas makes a sin and Tyler Langenberg doesn't do so. Here's Josh Doty trying to reclaim from Adrian Garcia, who's up 8 spots now, certainly belying his qualifying position. We know Garcia is a very fast driver. He's had a couple bad qualifying outings in the last few races that he's salvaged well with some good race pace in the race. So, again, the driver up the most positions in this race, and I doubt really anybody other than maybe McMurray could get him. Let's take a look at that move that was made as well by Garcia. Garcia, very late decision to make the send. I don't think Doty really saw it coming. Had to stay on the outside. Textbook move by Garcia there in Remus. We are now seeing the GTPs come in for their stops. They're just coming in right before the halfway mark. They'll be pitting through the halfway mark by the time they're out. Nick Terrell is staying out. Going to lead a lap here tonight. But Paletti, Skip, and Boyle, and Keith Roycroft all coming in for their stops. Jeff McDonald also pitting for the GT3 field further back. This is a decently high on throttle track. Oh, and a sin by Jack Lucas on Tyler Langenberg. It seemed, that's too deep. That is too deep. Tyler Langenberg is going to reclaim that. Lucas is going to have to fight again. He's going to get an incident point from that, and lost some time as well. Yeah, that seemed a little ambitious. Very wise by Tyler Langenberg to let him take that line and just sail off the track. I think he knew that was going to be way too fast. So not being spooked too much by the late braking of his competitor if he knows that he is braking, well, actually too late there. So Lucas will fight again. No damage to either car, no collision. I'm actually shocked that we haven't seen that more often. That's a very common thing to have happen in Remus. You get so much confidence from the uphill braking zone and just how aware you are of where your competitor is braking, that braking later is just so ingrained, like, I gotta brake later than my competitor. And because of how tight it is, especially on the outside, and the fact that it goes over a little bit of a crest on the outside, just really easy to send yourself out a little bit wide if you just didn't quite time it up right. But Lucas not losing too much time. He's now back within that 4/10 mark. He may be able to make this happen if Langenberg doesn't decide to make an early pit anyways, but we will probably see most of the pits happen by the 50-minute mark, maybe the 55-minute mark. Nick Terrell comes in for his pit stop. And J Smart now leading the race. And a shame that he's off pit strategy because he clearly has the pace to be up there. Oh, and Paul Skip has hopped Nicholas Paletti in the pits. Paletti is behind by a second. Let's take a look at the amount of time in the pits. Yeah, we have that pulled up there. So Paul Skip, 43 seconds, 45 seconds for Nicholas Paletti. He couldn't afford to be 2 seconds slower. And that is the total pit time, not pit lane time. Pit lane time also around 2 seconds difference. So is this going to be a problem for Paul Skip on fuel later in this race? Remains to be seen. But he has made that first stint a lot faster, and he's going off wide. He's going out wide. He's going to lose the spot to Paletti. We just saw him just lock up one tire, the inside right, into Schlossgold. So hard to not lock up. We've seen a lot of lockups by these GTPs here today, and unfortunately, just such a minor mistake. He may already be in a little bit of a fuel hole compared to Paletti, and now he's already lost that position on track. You These cold tires easier to lock up than the ones that you've really got in that working window. But a good on Paletti to be ready to take that advantage. So we take a look at that again from Paletti's point of view. Just quite an easy move as Skip just going out a little bit too wide there in Schlossgold. Nothing he could do to stay ahead. But no drivers other than that involved in that incident. Wyckoff right now again trying to make his way through the field. We saw him make the attempt for 4th place on Travis Bell and then fall back a number of spots after that. He is now finally back up to this position where he can maybe make a move for 4th, this time on Nathan Westland, who's had a fantastic race for himself. Richard Curry and Adrian Garcia, battling side by side, and that is out wide for Curry. Is Doty going to get by on the inside as well? I think he is going to make this happen. We can see Doty on the outside. Yeah, he's going to have to just let him go by. Let's take a look and see what happened there. Actually, let's go back a little bit further from that. So there was a lot of battling between these two drivers. So the GTP's coming through at this point. Now they're through Remus, heading into Schlossgold. Giving a little bit of room. Garcia's on the inside. Curry is a little bit later. Does Curry just go a little bit too wide here? Yeah, he does. Loses that time, and then that's how he loses the position to Doty. And a pit stop for Curry, so we don't get to see that battle continue. Eric Vallada is really close now to Darren Rutherford, who has fallen back to over a second from Ken Huber. None of these drivers have made their pit stop yet. And none of the drivers in the top 11 have made their stop yet. Lucas is in the pits, Curry and McMurray. I think Lucas may be the highest placed driver in the pits so far. Could be wrong about that. There might be one that's sneaky that I'm not. Or maybe Sheldon Rosenbaum might have been ahead of him in the net position. So we'll see how that shakes out when he's exiting here. But he's on the exit currently. Rosenbaum trying to get up to the driver of Jack Lucas. It looks like it's close. Let's see if anything's able to happen. Rosenbaum, I think, is going to make the move. Lucas can't see him, but he's there. He's on the inside, and yeah, just not up to speed on that pit exit. So very, very close in the battle for this position between Rosenbaum and Lucas, but Lucas just losing out just a little bit there. Eric Vallada into the pits, seeing if he's going to try to do an undercut here on Darren Rutherford. Nathan Westland following him into the pits as well, so that battle with Matthew Wyckoff is going to cool off as the two drivers separate. Wyckoff not coming into the pit stops. James Foreman comes into the pits as well. Doty just made that move on Foreman that we saw, Curry, that we saw earlier before Curry pit. Now trying to make the move on Garcia, who's been our big charger here today, up 10 spots due to the pit cycle that we've had. Neither of these drivers into the pits so far today. And yeah, now up 13 spots due to the pit stop not being made yet. In the GTP class, still within touching range for Paul Skip, 9/10 back. If he has that fuel deficit, it's going to be even harder to make that up, but it is within touching range for Nicholas Paletti's lead, but he's definitely on the back foot after that incident last lap, and he's going to have to really dig one out here tonight. Nicholas Paletti, not a stranger to the winner's circle on the season. He's won 2 races. The only driver who's won multiple races other than Paul Skip. 1 win apiece for Nick Terrell and Jack Colville. Not only that, but he's got 8 podiums on 9 races in this season as well, Paletti, with Paul Skip matching him with the 8 podiums. And only 12 points back total. So despite the 8 podiums, Nick Terrell with his 7 podiums, because he's got the win, he's got, I guess, more consistent maybe more consistent second places. Nick Terrell is in second place ahead of Nick Paletti, but they are within 6 points of each other. A lot of pit stops in the GT3 field. Huber, Rutherford, Wyckoff, Langenberg, Claybaugh, all of our top 5 coming in. Are we going to see Garcia? Yeah, we're seeing Garcia and Doty come in. So let's see what happens with these pit stop times, and let's pull that up as we get that count. Is Huber going to have his customary short stop here that we see, or is Rutherford going to be able to hop him? He was close enough to do the undercut. Matthew Wyckoff in the background there as well. So Huber looking like he's got a bit of an advantage. He's 26.6 to 28.9 for Rutherford. Typical kind of advantage that we've seen. Eric Bellata with the longer pit of everybody. Does he get Darren Rutherford down the straight? I don't think he's going to. The loss of time, he lost a couple seconds to Rutherford through the pit stops despite pitting earlier, and who knows how the outlap pace was. So Bellata trying something. It has not worked out at this point in the race. Remains to be seen if that's going to pay off for him later, but he is now 4 seconds back from Darren Rutherford, and it was only a matter of 6 or 7 tenths before that pit stop. So hopefully not a wrong strategy call. Again, interesting to see 30 seconds in the pits. Only Sheldon Rosenbaum having a slower stop in this race from the top 20 in the GTDs. So I don't know if fuel maybe overfueled a little bit potentially, or has just been overspending fuel. We'll see when we get to the end of this race, and hopefully he doesn't have too much left in the tank that he's going to regret. But has a lot of free track now to be able to try to catch up, as it's a little bit now before Paletti and Skip get up to the back of him to make their way around, and he does not have any threat behind. 5 seconds back to Nathan Westland, who is about to start his own battle again with Matthew Wyckoff. Doty, who had gained the spot on Curry, is lost through the pits. And interesting, because the actual pit stop time is about the same, so it must have been some good outlaps for Curry to maintain that position. Maybe Doty losing some spots as he was battling with Garcia. He does stay ahead of Garcia, but both drivers losing out to Curry in that cycle. Jack Lucas keeping close with Sheldon Rosenbaum. Lucas has, I would like to say, just been in battles all race long, but I honestly think that he's been in battles all season long. It just seems like every single race he's tied either onto the rear or front bumper of some other driver, and it's been the case for him today as well. Rosenbaum, an up and down race here today. He's down 4 from where he started, was able to qualify up in 3rd. We saw a couple early incidents and some negative momentum take him out of those positions. Has some time still to claim those spots. I mean, the gaps are larger than they were, but they are not insurmountable at this point. Still over half an hour to race. Gap at the front that we're seeing come through right now, 1.3 seconds for Paletti. Nick Terrell still holds that podium position in 3rd. Still not close enough ahead or behind to really be worried about his position. Looks like he's going to be able to come out with a pretty easy podium, but unfortunately not able to challenge for a second win on the season, but should be able to get his 8th podium here tonight. Garcia, who at one point we saw up 10 spots, even 13 before the pit stop, now only up 6. Looks like he lost some through the and Eric Bellata into the pits. What's going on? Eric Bellata with a drive-through. We haven't seen him in crashes. He must have just had so many off tracks and very innocuous small off tracks that he's already picked up a drive-through not even an hour into this race. And remind you that it takes a lot of incidents to get to that drive-through limit. But once you hit that, the trigger to earn more drive-throughs is much smaller. So he's in a lot of trouble for the remainder of this race, Eric Bellata, if he does already have that incident point amount, because it could get a lot worse a lot fast. a lot worse very fast, excuse me. But Garcia in a tight battle with Doty and Curry right now. Line astern through Remus. Shocking that really no move was made into there by any of these drivers. But all these guys trying to survive right now. 3 different cars that we're seeing. We're seeing the Audi for Josh Doty. We saw him run the McLaren last race, which was the only entrance of the McLaren, I think, on the season. The Audi we saw a few drivers try to use at the start of the season and really struggle with. It's the newest car of the field. No one was really having a lot of fun with it. And now he's, I believe, the only, or Tyler Langenberg in the Audi as well. So one of only a couple guys, Kevin Bergquist, too. One of only a few guys, excuse me, running that car today. working for him decently well here today so far. Tyler Langenberg got his way around Eric Balata as well. So how did this even... Oh, this was actually... Sorry. This was a little bit further back. This was Balata still coming out of the pits. That's how he lost that spot. Another spot. Garcia maybe making a move into turn one into Niki Lauda curve. He's got the move set up. Is he going to be able to get it slowed down? It's so hard to make a pass in turn one. He's going to lose out, but he's closer than he was before, and he pulls Doty a little bit away from Curry, which helps him in a potential attack here. So he's trying to set up for a move into Remus into turn three. Is he going to be late on the brakes? He's a little earlier on the brakes than Doty. Doty takes an aggressive line on the way in. Mountain that curb. Doesn't look like he lost too much time. It's been a good defense so far for Doty. And I think he's going to hold it potentially. No, Garcia thinking about the inside into Schlossgold. Doesn't make it happen. Great defense through these turns for Josh Doty. Still a lot of work to do. Still not over for him. Aaron Claybaugh in a 3-wide fight back here through Schlossgold. I don't know why Aaron Claybaugh is back here. I don't know if he had a drive-through potentially. Claybaugh was fighting further up the field. Currently right now behind Andrew McMurray on the outside of Jesse Coffey. And this is extra tight. Usually the battle's sorted by this point. He thought about an undercut there. Couldn't make it happen. Is he going to make the run into Rent and a close off by Jessica? Oh, and actually the Jay Smart coming through at the same time. As they come up over the hill, I think they're going to stay in line. Oh, they're side by side. Jesse Coffey, Aaron Claybaugh goes way wide, just trying to avoid an incident there. Hopefully not a slowdown. Difficult run out for McMurray. McMurray, really a lot of lost time there. Looks like he took too defensive of a line into turn 9 and really hurt him as they're heading down to Niki Lauda curve. May lose this spot. Claybaugh's going to try to send it. He's got a nose ahead. Oh, and he goes a little wide. He mounts that curve. He's going to lose the spot again. This battle is fierce between these guys. He's going to have an okay run. I don't think he's going to be able to make a move into Remus, though. It's the best passing opportunity. So he's made a couple difficult passing attempts, and the easiest one not going to be able to take advantage of here. Further up the field, Wyckoff very close to Westland. He was close before the pit cycle, and it petered out a little bit to closer to 1 second. Now he's started to catch up over this last few laps. Hard to follow everything that's going on. We also saw Garcia and Doty trading positions during that battle back there. McDonald just grabbed a spot on Kevin Berquist. Berquist isn't going to be able to fight back, I think, there. There was this move being made. Berquist just going out wide in Schlossgold and unable to continue his defense. Play ball close with McMurray again. Is he going to make something up? Again, potentially sending a move into Rent. Just such a difficult move as they make their way through Red Bull Mobile. Is he going to have a better run? McMurray had a rough run last lap and wide for both guys. Really, wider for McMurray. Huge run for Claybaugh. Does McMurray have a slowdown? I don't think he does. Is Claybaugh going to keep it in track this time? He went too wide last time. Parks it on the apex. I think that he's going to be able to get the defense done this time around. But we'll have to see as we head into Remus. Garcia has now gained a spot further back on, or a little bit ahead, sorry, on Josh Doty. They've been battling between each other. Going to get it slowed down on the brakes. And he does. No fight from McMurray into that corner. So let's take a look at how Garcia got around Doty. He's further back. He's been really strong on the inside line of Remus. Later on the brakes, and Garcia has been having a field day of overtakes, and that is just one more to his total on today's race. Wyckoff less than 2/10 back, not a passing opportunity. Jay Smart's just going to try to wait patiently here. Smart is up to 5th, which, again, with all the stuff that's happened to him today, could be a lot worse. 12 seconds off Paul Boyle. Not impossible to catch up depending on what happens later in this race. So Smart still trying to put in some hot laps. Wyckoff trying to put in hot laps as well. Balada's also caught up to Tyler Langenberg and actually fallen back there. So it looks like he caught up and lost that gap a little bit. But Bellata's trying to reclaim some positions from the drive-through that caused him to lose all the way back from 3rd to 9th. A really brutal drive-through that he's had. Wyckoff not close enough to do anything to Westland. Westland, very similar to Jack Lucas, as mentioned before, also has just been in one season-long battle with different drivers. He has, maybe even more so than Lucas, we've seen him in entire race-long battles for position. And on both sides of it, attacking and defending. Especially the defending, he's been very strong, and we've rarely seen him make any mistakes. So not a foreign position for him here, defending his 3rd place, although would be an incredible finish for him to be, I mean, not only first for GTDB, but be on that overall podium. So we'll see if he's able to steel his nerves and defend from newcomer Matthew Wyckoff here. But Wyckoff certainly has a lot of pace in that car. Who knows where the incident points are looking, how their incident points are looking as well. And we already saw drive-throughs for some really high-running guys. Lucas catching up to Rosenbaum, potentially thinking about a move into turn 1. He's got a really good run, 10th and a half, just not close enough to make anything happen. Jeff McDonald having an incident. Oh, and wide for Rosenbaum. Not enough to get a slowdown, but enough to get an incident point. Gonna be marching his way to a drive-through potentially. And we just don't know where the drivers are in that case. Oh, and Paul Skip is just 2/10 back from Paletti. Oh, and he thought about it. He thought about it for 1 second. Paul Skip nearly made the move. We don't know his fuel situation. Is he a little bit behind on Paletti? Possibly. But he's not lacking in bravery. Nearly made that move into turn 1. It's a difficult passing opportunity to make happen. This turn, much easier. But I don't think was really able to set that up after having to back out of that kind of half move. Further back, Bellata again chasing Langenberg. Kelly's making his way through in that GTP. Langenberg's close to Lucas. Lucas close to Rosenbaum. All 4 of these guys stacked up right now. Battling for 6th in class currently. And it looks like they're going to stay in order at least through this lap. Don't really know where there's a good amount of close battles that we've got on this track. Going to try to grab the ones as we catch a quick replay of what happened to Jeff McDonald. Oh, and actually, and I shouldn't have gone to replay. Paul Skip's got the lead. Paul Skip's got the lead on Nicholas Paletti. And he's getting held up by some traffic. We'll go back to the replay later. Paul Skip made the move into 1st place. Paletti, just a rough couple laps here. Let's see what happened. Wish I'd been able to catch it live. Down in the Rent, actually making that move happen. That's a very brave move. Must have had a good run through Verth. And on the inside, using the car of Travis Bell on the outside to just help solidify that move being made. It's still not over. Paletti's still very close. I don't think that his pace is so far off he can't keep up here. I think they're very evenly matched. Traffic just may have taken a bit of a role in what happened there with their momentum. McMurray trying to gain the spot on Claybaugh is definitely going to try to attempt it. Deeper on the brakes for Claybaugh. He's had an off track here going too wide, but keeps it stuck that time. Wyckoff now down to 2/10 for Westland. So they are making their way through the only part of the track that really you can say is a not passing zone. We've seen drivers pass everywhere else on this track. Maybe last turn is potentially one where you can't have it happen. Wyckoff not seeing any opportunities so far. Langenberg also 2/10 back from Jack Lucas, now heading into Rent. Paletti's making his way through, trying not to lose too much time. It's now back to 1.3 seconds as he's had some... Oh, no, he loses a ton of time there. Look at that, now down to 2 seconds for Paletti. Strong run for Langenberg on Lucas. He's definitely going to be trying to make this move happen. We've seen mixed results from the inside line overtake here into turn 1. Does he make it happen? He's trying to get it slowed down. Very good braking for Lucas. Hits the inside curve for Langenberg. Lucky to keep it on the track. And yeah, no move being made. Bellata actually taking advantage and swinging around Langenberg in that event. Yeah, I think Langenberg just didn't quite have the overlap to make it happen. It's a difficult turn. It's very fast, and you can't take a variety of lines through there. So had to try to make something happen. It's pass or be passed. So I understand why the move was attempted, but he has lost Eric Bellata. Garcia has reclaimed the spot on Josh Doty. Again, into Remus. He has made so many passes here. Inside, outside, doesn't matter. He'll take either one. Doty already losing the spot before they even got into the braking zone. So, with around 22 minutes to go, we will take another few-minute break. Keep the action running on screen. Be right back with you in a few minutes and run us out to the end of this incredible race that we've had so far tonight. We're back with some wild action right in the middle of it. Bellata, Langenberg, Rosenbaum, Lucas. I don't know who's going to be staying ahead here. Bellata ahead, behind. Looks like maybe Langenberg's still sticking to the back of this quadrant. There's some GTPs trying to get their way through at the same time. Lucas somehow stays ahead. I think he'd even lost a position at one point, getting it back. Some more GTPs come on their way through. So we try to keep up. Bellata nowhere to go. He can't even slot in. He has to take the inside. Langenberg swings it around the outside. Bellata trying to stay safe again. Bellata can't afford to get a drive-through again. And I wonder if that even was an off-track that he earned there. Curry into the pits. Is he having a drive-through? He does. So Curry with the drive-through. That's a backbreaker for a driver that's been in some tight battles so far in this race. Now he's going to lose back to at least 14th here. Looks like 14th is going to be where he comes out. Oh, man. We try to just keep up with what was going on there. A lot of tight battling. See if we can get a good replay. So we have Lucas temporarily losing a spot to Rosenbaum. Bellata's behind with Langenberg there as well. Nick Terrell trying to make his way around. Nick Terrell's not in any close battle, so he didn't need to force anything too much. Nearly come together between Bellata and Langenberg. They're 2x2, 3 wide into Rent. Again, another tap between Bellata and Rosenbaum as Lucas had reclaimed that first place position of that group. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. Staying ahead. Down to around 18, 19 minutes left in this race, and still a lot of positions to be fought for. Ken Huber has maybe pulled away again in this race safely. I don't think that he needed to be ahead into that pit stop period, because he did have a 2-second stop, 2-second faster stop than Darren Rutherford, but Rutherford has unfortunately been able to make an impression on Huber in the second half of this race. 3.5 seconds is not the largest gap we've seen Ken Huber have at the end of a race, but it is not an unfamiliar sight to see Ken Huber there in first after being behind a little bit in second place early in the race. We saw that a lot earlier in the season. And maybe going for a 10 straight race win despite the new entrance to this race. Nathan Westland also, while he's not fully safe from Matthew Wyckoff, he's in third place overall still. May be able to get that overall podium, due to the drive-through that Bellata had to earn earlier. We'll see who ends up actually getting that third place slot, but the gap was, in the tenths, and he started to pull away from Matthew Wyckoff. Meanwhile, in the GTPs, 1.7, 1.8 seconds between Paletti and Skip. Paul Boyles actually caught up to Nick Terrell as well. I was saying that gap was insurmountable, but all of a sudden, Paul Boyles is actually quite close. So I don't know what's happened there with Nick Terrell as far as how he's... I know we saw him lose sometime in that battle there with these 4 GT3s, but something has happened where he's lost a good amount of time to Paul Boyle. It's getting quite close between the two. It actually continues to get close. We'll keep an eye on that as we have, of course, our closest battle on track right now on screen. This group of 4 fighting for 6th. Lucas not safe. And Dan Burnett not involved in this 4 position, but involved on track nonetheless. He looks like he is getting out of the way, making things a little bit easier on these guys. Slotting in between Langenberg and Bellata, so Bellata's still going to have to make his way through. Bellata is the driver who can least afford some hargy-barginess here late in this race with that drive-through that he's already earned. If he gets even just another single 4X collision, he's going to be getting another drive-through. So he has to drive really safe for the last bit of this race. Maybe these guys a little bit more leeway to be a little bit more aggressive. Don't know where their incident points are standing currently, but we've seen a few drivers come in already. On board with Langenberg, following through Verth, trying to get a good overspeed. We've seen a couple very brave moves made into Rent here in turn 9, but nothing happening here. You really got to have a mistake from the driver in front, and maybe a mistake for Rosenbaum as he goes a little bit wide. I think if there was a passing opportunity there, Langenberg would have liked to take it. It's 10th and a half. Rosenbaum getting a bit of a draft from Lucas in front. Is it enough to keep him safe in the turn 1? I think Langenberg's had a couple bad experiences with moves in turn 1. Probably won't, try to make anything happen this time around. But does he try to make something happen in the Remus? Langenberg's right on the back, 10th and a half. Are we going to see a move made? Let's wait to see if he pulls to the inside of the braking zone here. Just content to follow at this point in the race. Curry, after his drive-through, trying to climb back up through the ranks again. Now back up to where he started. He'd made up a lot of positions on this race. Now back to his qualifying position of 14th. Only a few tenths back from McMurray. McMurray's had an exciting race himself. Curry can't afford to collide, but he does seem to have the pace right now after that unfortunate drive-through. It's not a really long pit lane, but you do lose a decent amount of pit loss just because of how fast drivers go through that final corner. The final 2 corners, really, that it's not as much of time saved, even though it's not the longest pit lane. You just go so fast through that same section of track where a driver is pitting that it's not as beneficial. Still a move for Langenberg stronger. Oh, Langenberg's going to make the move in between turns 9 and 10. That is not a normal passing opportunity, but Rosenbaum, he saw him go a little bit wide last lap. He went even more wide this time. Rosenbaum has the space to fight back here, though. John Kelly is coming through right at the wrong time for him. It's going to affect Langenberg's turn in a little bit. Rosenbaum stays out of it, though. Nearly goes over the curbs there for Langenberg, but a fantastic move for Tyler Langenberg there in that corner. Not an easy move to make, so we take a look at that replay. Through Rent, and Rosenbaum just ever so slightly wide, has to give a, needs to rejoin the track safely, and Langenberg was smart to put his car there, earned that room. Up at the front, we've got now back to a 4/10 gap. It was maybe getting out of hand for Paletti. Now it is down to 4/10 again. As we go through the 2 drivers we just saw battling, Langenberg's on the outside. He's going to suffer a little bit as they head through Schlossgold. But Rosenbaum not able to take advantage of that. Down to 2/10 between these two. Skip getting slowed down by the car of, I believe, Jack Lucas. Now through Verth. trying not to push Lucas off track, but Paletti did lose some time there. Just a few more cars that they got to come up on. James Foreman in 5th, who's had a very quiet race. Foreman, very strong showing in 5th, is our GTDB leader, and not only that, but the 2nd place overall in the GT3 class. But he has had a very quiet race. It's been nice for him. He's does seem like he's maybe closing that gap to Matthew Wyckoff a little bit. Not threatened behind by Jack Lucas, but may just come across here tonight in 5th place. Would be a fantastic showing for him. 2nd place in that B class. Jack Lucas currently occupying the final step of the podium for those B class runners. Aaron Claybaugh was about to make a move on Dan Barnett, and I think Barnett coming into the pits maybe as a drive-through. See if he rejoins the track or not. Paul Boyle now also less than a 10th to Nick Terrell. So Terrell has slowly bled some time to Paul Boyle here. So you can see that gap has continued to go down. Was 2.5 seconds 5 laps ago. Now we're down to 0.6 of a second. Is he going to be able to make something happen here? Jay Smart, that's actually for position there, back there as well. So Jay Smart he can see a podium despite the absolutely unfortunate events that happened to him early on in this race. Smart is within touching range of a podium with 11 minutes to go. Okay, Paul Boyle getting up to speed this season with a switch to VR, and right now this has definitely been his best showing on the season, pace-wise, keeping up with Nick Terrell, who's always been a strong runner. Again, has a win on the season already. And 2 poles to his name as well. Boyle trying to get up here. He's got to be worried about Jay Smart behind as well. Smart a little bit further back, 1.5 seconds. Does he have this late race pace? I mean, he had the pace to get pole position clearly. Can he finish it out here with some late race stuff, or has he cooked the tires a little bit more than these drivers? Remains to be seen. Look at best times. Jay Smart is the holder of our purple time in GTP, a 1:19.1. No one even really that close to it. I mean, 3/10 off for Paletti, 4/10 off for Skip, and a good 8/10 faster than the 2 drivers he's trying to catch up to now, who is just now closed the gap dramatically through some traffic to Paul Boyle. Paul Boyle was thinking about 3rd too much. He's going to be worried about 5th right now. GT3s are close. I don't think any battles or positions being battled for right at this exact moment, but Jay Smart is all of a sudden hounding Paul Boyle for 4th. Will really want, if he can get the move made, will really want to try to expedite moving up to 3rd to try to get Nick Terrell there. Nick Terrell, of course, fighting for the overall championship. That Jay Smart isn't as much to the same degree. Nick Terrell's only 6 points off of Paul Skip, and he's 6 points ahead of Paletti. Can't really afford to lose a spot. He's getting some cushion right now as Paul Boyle's driving a little more defensively from Jay Smart. But Smart just seems like he's got more in the tank right now. A little bit wide for both guys. I think is enough to not earn anything. Coming up through some of these front-runner GT3s as well. I think Smart's going to be trying to make the move here in turn 1. Can Paul Boyle do anything to defend? He's not going super outside. He's keeping Smart pinned inside. A little bit of rubbing. Rubbin's racing. He stays ahead. Nice move by Paul Boyle to maintain that position. It was an aggressive attack by Jay Smart. Nothing undue, but a difficult defense that Paul Boyle was able to keep up. Smart to the outside. Can he make a switchback work? Boyle parking it on the apex enough to, I think, not allow that to happen. Still just a 10.5 as they make their way past Jack Lucas. They now have a gap from Lucas up to Foreman where they can make some moves happen. He's making it happen down the inside, then a lockup and a collision. That is all on Jay Smart. Locks up the inside tire. It's exactly what we've seen from F1 multiple times at this circuit as a driver tries to make an aggressive move, locks up the inside, although luckily Paul Boyle's still in this race and not being sent into the gravel and out of the racetrack. He is going to give up that position. And actually give up the race. Maybe he had earned a drive-through with that incident. Maybe a bizarre meatball flag, a mandatory repair, but gives up the position to Paul Boyle, and the 3rd place was within touch for him, and he is now going to be finishing in 7th. So music to John Kelly and Keith Roycroft's ears, who probably didn't think it was possible to get up to that J Smart spot, but now getting that. Eric Bellata, driver who's had that drive-through, may be able to climb up another position with Sheldon Rosenbaum. Now we have 3 drivers on track here. Rosenbaum, Bellata, Bell, who are the only guys in the top 10 who have lost positions from where they started, each having their own incidents in this race, but all trying to salvage as many points as they can here tonight. And Bellata was, for a long time, the second place runner in the championship before having an operation that had him out of the car for a while. So he has now fallen back to 16th overall, which is really not that bad given the competition. I mean, it's all still very close. He's only 2 points behind Travis Bell, for example, and can really still make an impact on this season once those drop weeks get put into place. So this still matters, these points, but he's just trying to get up to speed. Even just a few weeks ago was barely even able to sit still for an hour and a half, let alone race, with the sim pedals and all that. So a strong showing of endurance and perseverance for Eric Bellata here tonight in what's maybe not been his favorite race as far as how it's gone for him, but being in the race, having a clean car is definitely more important than anything else here tonight. And Rosenbaum, I think maybe getting drive-through there because he came into the pits. I was coming in very late, so unless he had underfueled, I think we're just going to see Rosenbaum. Let's take a look. Probably just going to see him drive straight to the pit lane here. No signs of him turning in. So yeah, sure enough, drive-through for Sheldon Rosenbaum. We've seen a couple front-runner drivers getting their drive-throughs. It's more than any other racetrack so far this season, I think. And we've had some tough track limits races. We've had a lot. We've had Road America, Silverstone, COTA. And this one's been the one that's given them the hardest time because I think that it's... I mean, it and Silverstone are both ones that are just ultra racy, but then also have those track limits problems, even if you're not, potentially banging some doors or pushing another driver off track or something, which is just par for the course here at Red Bull Ring. It's been a aggressive but very entertaining race that we've had tonight. No dirty moves, not aggressive and dirty, but just drivers making some really strong passing attempts, some really strong defenses, occasionally getting into each other, but there's been mostly just a lot of trading paint, and it's been exciting to watch. 5 minutes to go. It does seem like a lot of the GT3 positions are potentially wrapped up. Langenberg's still a little bit close to Jack Lucas. This GTP battle might be what takes us to the end of the race here in these last 4.5 minutes. Currently, gap of 3.5 tenths. Take a look at the live sectors. Skip faster through the first 2 sectors of the lap. This third sector will certainly be faster for Paletti unless really makes a mistake on this. Oh, he really gets a good run out through there. Now he's sub 2 tenths. So yeah, 3 tenths faster in that final sector. This is getting a little bit nervous for Skip. Good timed traffic for him. Able to now breathe a little bit. Now to an 8 tenth, 9 tenth. Oh, that was just a bit of a killer for Paletti. Not out of it, but now a second back. Not that Rosenbaum did anything wrong, just the car was in the wrong spot. Skip was able to get by without losing too much, and Paletti kind of just hit him right in the apex of that corner. The battle, has it potentially already been quelled here? 3.5 minutes, 1.2 seconds now behind. Can he catch it up? Of course, traffic's going to help. Not great traffic there for Skip. Doty in a bad spot. I think Paletti's going to sail through before the apex. For the most part does, so he catches up a little bit through that. They're coming up now on the driver of... Which driver? Bell, excuse me. I thought that was BIL. Travis Bell, Skip diving through before Rent. Can Paletti get through in the apex? He can, so a little bit, maybe a little bit slower actually. I thought that was going to be a faster exit for Paletti, but with that clean final turn for Skip, able to take a little bit more advantage. Oh, this is going to be difficult. 9/10 slower on that lap for Paletti just due to the traffic. I don't think due to his skill, just due to the traffic slower. Can anything happen with these upcoming cars to go the way of Paletti? Paletti's going to get by Eric Bellata here into the braking zone, trying to just break it under a second as they come up on a few more. And they got Keith Roycroft coming up on as well. I don't know if pace-wise they're going to catch up to him. I imagine they would. He'll get blue flags. He should get out of the way easy enough. It just depends on again where he's at on the track. 4/10 now for Paletti. So badly timed through Schlossgold traffic-wise for Paul Skip. Nothing he could do about it. But now it's down to 2/10 again. What looked like an out of touch battle is now close. Jack Lucas out of the way. 3.5 They will not likely get the white flag, so I think we're going to have 2 more laps here. We'll try to keep an eye on the flag stand as they head their way through this final sector. And the lap times are 1:20. Maybe they will. They might get it. They might get a white flag. This is going to be very close. They should. I don't see a white flag, so it is very, very, very close to calling one. But this is going to be singing. Nicholas Play is going to be singing praises for the stewards, because a white flag could have definitely been called there. We hit that point where it was exactly 1 lap to the end, but he's less than 1/10 into the best braking zone of the track. Maybe he doesn't need 2 laps. Maybe he just needs 1. He's going to try for it in the braking zone. And Remus, stronger by Paul Skip. Paul Skip looks like he struggled there, I think. Just trying not to lock up. And Paletti is through into first place. Can Skip fight back again? Now the extra lap is running the opposite direction for Paletti into the braking zone of Schlossgold. He has to be a little defensive. Skip desperately wanted to be able to fight him through there. Didn't have the overlap to do so. They make their way now through the middle sector. No passing opportunities through here. Oh, and he gets held up by that car. Does he know that he's hindering the battle of this race? The lead for the GTPs. We haven't seen a lot of battles for the lead on this season. This is the tightest we've seen all season long for the top 2 positions in GTP. Paletti will be desperately wishing that he had actually got that white flag last lap. He's got 1 more lap to go to defend. Paul Skip in the pit lane. Did he run out of fuel? Paul Skip, no, maybe hitting an incident point limit. Nicholas Paletti is going to cruise to this victory. He has the white flag. He is going to run away with this race. Paul Skip, is he going to even stay ahead of Dick Terrell? He should. I don't remember what the gap was. We're only seeing distance gaps now. Skip is stopping. Skip didn't have the fuel. Skip was calculated for what I had anticipated was the white flag coming out last lap. May have played a factor into him losing that spot to Paletti. Paul Boyle looks like he's in the same situation. Paul Boyle in the pits. Jay Smart may be wishing that he had stayed in this race, because at least that Paul Boyle spot would have been easily claimed. He could have easily got that 4th place position here if he had the fuel to finish. Nicholas Paletti, the winning, the gap of victory is not going to be a good description for how close this race was for him. He had the lead. Well, he had gained the lead from Jay Smart, then lost the lead to Skip, then got it back, then lost it again, and he has now reclaimed the lead 1 more time, second to last lap. Nailed the fuel strategy that a couple of other GTPs weren't able to do, but a 20-second lead, a little bit irrepresentative of this race. And what a race for Paletti. Paletti is going to come across. He is the 3rd place runner in the championship, but he is 1st place tonight with a win number 3 on the season. Only other driver than Paul Skip to get multiple wins. Kelly and Roycroft come across. Darren Rutherford unable to do anything, as again Ken Huber on another lap, as he just seems to so often place himself in between the leader of the GTPs and the others. Nathan Westland, 1st place finisher for that B-Class championship. Continuing further back, Langenberg and Bellata finishing out. Bell and Doty. We got to wait a little bit for Ken Huber to make his way around to celebrate his victory here. Was well fought. Was one of the most difficult victories I think that Ken Huber's probably had with a new face in Darren Rutherford. A fantastic podium, 2nd place in his debut. Matthew Wyckoff also getting a podium as he was third in GTDA. Kevin Burke was crossing the line, and then, well, let's go on board with Ken Huber. Really, the only driver left, the only driver left racing, all alone here on the track. He's all alone at the top of the standings as well. 10 straight wins for Ken Huber in the GTDs. We've seen some new faces. We've seen some people throw some fights to him, and yet at the end of the day, still winning by 10 seconds here tonight despite the challenge. Can anybody do anything to slow down Ken Huber? Wonderful win for him, and continuing this legendary streak up there with the likes of Terry Calgary Jr. and Dennis Diaz in that GT3 category. All right, let us move over. All right, let's get the final results here. So, results for the GTP class tonight. Nicholas Paletti with win number 3, won by an irrepresentative 20 seconds over Paul Skip in second and Nick Terrell in third. So Skip and Terrell both getting their podiums. Again, these 3 drivers have been on the podium in 7 of the 10 races on the season, I believe. Paul Boyle, John Kelly, and Keith Roycroft round out the runners, remaining at the end of the race with Jay Smart in 7th place. GTD race winner for the 10th time in a row, Ken Huber. Newcomer Darren Rutherford just 10 seconds back in 2nd place. Nathan Westland 3rd overall, 1st for the GTDBs. Another fantastic performance for him, and that means race win number 3. Matthew Wyckoff on his debut gets a podium for GTDA. James Foreman, another podium 9 on the season with Jack Lucas there for his 5th podium in 6th overalls. Tyler Lingenberg, Eric Blott, Travis Bell, and Josh Doty round out the top 10. Sheldon Rosenbaum, Jesse Coffey, Richard Curry, Kevin Berquist, Travis Rowe, Aaron Claybaugh, and Andrew McMurray, followed by Dan Burnett, Adrian Garcia, Jeff McDonald, Tony Watson, Chris Newby, Andrew Hicks, Greg Holland, and Christopher Craig. All right, let's see who we have in the waiting room. All right, let's bring in our overall race winner, Nicholas Paletti, after a very exciting race. All right, Nick, you hear me in the booth?
Yeah, I gotcha.
I'm a little bit out of breath. That was, well, technically you won by 20 seconds. It didn't really feel like that. That was an incredibly tight race. You qualified in 2nd place. You got the lead from Jay Smart, and then you had a really duking it out with Paul Skip. You lost the lead again. You caught back up on what almost was going to be the last lap. Like, what was going through your head there? Did you plan for an extra lap of fuel? Because clearly a couple of the other GTBs didn't.
Oh yeah, I was planning for that extra lap because going into crunching the numbers, looking at it before the race, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be extremely close. So I knew I had to do those 34 if I wanted to make it to the end without having to do a splash at the end. So, and I thought Skip was doing the same thing. So that second to last lap when I dove it on him going into turn 3, I'm like, well, now I just gotta pray that I won't stutter go into the line. I thought, I've had a few of those actually at this track before. But yeah, oh gosh, that was such a fun race. That was unbelievably fun. Skip was doing amazing. Like, yeah, the entire race, just going back and forth and having to fuel save, deal with traffic. Oh man, I'm ecstatic.
With 4 or 5 laps to go in the race, you were really close. You had it down to like a 10th down the main straight. Then in the turn 1, you just got to some traffic. It was poorly timed. Maybe it wasn't even 4. It was maybe just 3 laps to go in the race. Poorly timed traffic where Skip was able to get by without losing too much, and you hit him right in the apex. And it fell back to, I think, a 2.5. Did you think you still had a chance to catch back up just due to the chaos of the traffic here today?
Yeah, I knew I had a chance for it. I mean, this is probably one of the tracks where I've had to slow down the most for traffic. Most of the time, you can just send it on pretty much any corner, but these I was intentionally lifting well in advance on some of the corners because I knew I'd get a better ride out. And I was watching I was watching Skip when I was behind him, and I was noticing he wasn't letting off before the corner, so he would get right up close to him right at the apex, and he'd lose more time if he would have braked a little bit sooner. At least I was seeing that in a few corners. So I thought there was a chance because I saw a couple more cars that were there, but I mean the traffic was nuts in here. I think this was a great learning experience for me for dealing with traffic, and I hope it was a great learning experience for some of our newer GT3 drivers as well, because I think other than a few incidents here and there, I think we did amazing for as small of a track as what we were on.
Yeah, it was a very aggressive race, but it was really clean. I really didn't see any huge incidents other than Christopher Craig, unfortunately, having some hardware issues That's what happened with Jay Smart, at the start of the race. An unfortunate incident that was really kind of unavoidable. Coming into tonight, though, Paul Skip had 6 wins, but you were still close in that overall standings because this is now podium number 9 out of 10 races for you, which I believe you missed a race, so you've podiumed in every race. So continuing on, you got the win. That's win number 3. You're still close in that championship. We've got a good number of races left. What do you see happening next week with Twin Ring? A little bit. I mean, it's a big track, but it's more of a niche track compared to this one.
I love Twin Ring. That's a amazingly fun track as well. That's one of the tracks I feel like I got my first like A class win in GT3. So that's a track I'm looking forward to going back to. We haven't been there since I think since we were there a couple years ago now.
I think it was 2021 season 1, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, it's a really fun track. I think really underrated. I think it's going to be a fun one. Get us some night racing in. That'll be good. I think what's tough between Skip, Terrell, and I is that depending on the field size, you're almost guaranteed a podium. So what Nick's been doing, and I see he did it again. He pulled another 0x. He's been intentionally driving a little bit slower, knowing that he'll still beat people in points if he pulls a 0x. And looks like he did it again tonight. So it's getting real 3D or 4D chess up here with the 3 of us. But I'm all for it. It's a lot of fun.
I know you've been on the positive end of safety points, deciding a tight battle in a small participation class. So you're well aware of that strategy coming up. So we hope to see you again next week at Twin Ring. Good luck with that race and with the rest of the season.
Yeah, thanks so much. Doing a great job with the broadcasts. Always love them. Shout out to the Doge boys. Was a little bit of a rough one, but I think they had some really good pace out there tonight.
All right. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night, Nick. That was our race winner, Nicholas Paletti. I'm going to bring in our GT3 winner, 10th time in a row, Ken Huber. Ken, you got me in the booth.
Hey, Zach. How's it going?
It's going good. 10 wins in a row. I don't know. I need to check the all-time stats. I think we are approaching like actual record territory here. There were some good streaks that we've seen from Dennis Diaz and Terry Calgary Jr. before in the past. I don't know if they were able to actually hit 10, so I got to look at that. But what a fantastic win here today. This was your toughest test, I think, yet.
Yeah, and credit to Terry Calgary, who I raced a couple seasons ago. That guy is fast. So, to be able to compete at his level is obviously an honor. But, tonight, that first stint, we had a couple of new guys in here, and Darren Rutherford, my hat's off to him, man. That first stint, I never raced so hard this season. So, he made me work for it. I don't know what happened in the second stint, but yeah, I guess the race came together for me, and yeah, pretty awesome actually. I'm pretty excited tonight.
We did see your pit magic again. No one as short of a pit stop as you did. Didn't seem to be sputtering across the line, even though we had an extra lap of racing. And actually, one lap where you were like basically the only person on track because you got split up by the leader. So
that seems to happen a lot lately. I don't know what's going on with that. I just time it just right, I guess.
Are you fuel saving throughout the entire race, or is a lot of that coming in that first stint? Because we normally, like in that first stint, we see. Sometimes, especially like earlier in the season when you weren't getting all the pole positions, like you have been, like I think 6 straight races, you sat behind for the first stint. You made the pass through the pits. I hypothesize that's what you do here today, but a slight mistake by Darren allowed you to get by on track. Do you do most of that fuel saving in that first stint to set yourself up for the end of the race?
I think it's, I was thinking about that myself, and I think it's just my driving style. Obviously, if I get past, I usually set back and go into cruise control, and that lets me save fuel. But I think it's my driving style and the way I shift the car that saves gas just naturally. I'm not a big fuel saver like Langenberg or anybody like that. But if you told me going into a race I need to save fuel, that's what I'm not good at. But overall, just driving the car is where I tend to save the fuel. So it's about the best I can make out of that.
Well, you had over 100 points lead coming in today that continues to grow. What do you see happening next week at Twin Ring? Definitely a big, wide track, a lot longer than this one as well.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I don't know. We're going into a streak of tracks that aren't my favorites, so I think that's one of them, and I think it's going to be partial night race too. So
Yes.
I've got my work cut out for me. I've done okay there. It's not a bad track, but I don't know when the sun's. I don't think I've ever raced there at night, so I don't know. It's going to be tough. I think we got some new guys in there. Like I said, Darren and Matthew. These guys are strong, and plus the old crew that's still here. Nathan Westland did a good job tonight, and Eric Bellata, having him back tonight was totally awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't even get to really race him. I guess he got a black flag, so that was a terrible thing for him. But glad to see him back on the track. So my work's cut out for me.
Well, I can quell your fears a little bit for next week. That Twin Ring is an entirely illuminated track, so will be a night race, but it is fully lit up. So at least you don't have the difficulties of some night racing at other tracks. But good luck to you next week. Maybe we'll see 11 straight here in this wonderful season that you've had so far.
All right. Thanks, Zach. You have a good night. Appreciate the broadcast. You do a wonderful job. I hate seeing you up there by yourself. In fact, if you need some help next season, I'd volunteer if you want to talk about it later.
All right. Thank you for letting me know. And I appreciate the kind words. You have a good night, Ken.
All right. Later.
Now we're going to bring in our GT3B winner, Nathan Westland. Nathan, you got me in the booth up here.
Yep.
Coming across with another win on the season and third overall as well on the overall podium in that B class, and you qualified up pretty well as well. Gained some spots at the start of this race, and had a pretty good defense from Matthew late in this race that you ended up pretty safely pulling a gap to. So, where were you finding that pace in the last 15, 20 minutes where you were really able to secure that third overall position?
Yeah, luckily I had, Matthew was doing basically the exact same laps as me. Luckily he was in the Lamborghini, which I think had some straight line speed issues. So as long as I could manage him to the corners, to the middle part of the track, I was able to pull a 2/10 gap every time down the straight. And also some of the GTP traffic really worked in my favor in the second half of the race. So eventually he got back, I don't know, 2 seconds, and he was kind of out of my slipstream at that point. So I was able to just match his lap times and keep the same pace.
What was the experience with the traffic? I mean, it's a pretty short circuit. It's one of the shorter ones on the calendar, and then the pace differential with a lot of these turns was really big between the two classes. It just seemed like the GTPs were coming through constantly. What was it like in the cockpit?
Yeah, it was wave after wave of GTPs coming in, especially when they were battling really close. It was hard to safely get through a corner. Really turn 2 or turn 3 after the downhill into the hard braking zone. That was where I tended to lose a ton of time. If the GTPs were coming down the inside, I'd go wide and out in that sausage curve and lose half a second. But luckily, they're all pretty respectable. I didn't really have any issues myself.
Well, you've had a really good season so far. Came into the race fourth place. I think maybe staying in fourth still, but very closing in on that third overall spot. With Twin Ring up next week, how do you foresee yourself doing at more of a niche circuit than these last few big like F1 circuits that we've done?
Yeah, I've never done the track, so I'll have to do some practice next week to get familiar with it. But yeah, looking forward to the close battle for second place. I think James Foreman might be a little bit out of touch at first, but yeah, between Jesse Coffey and Jack Lucas, it'll be close going to the final race.
Well, we look forward to seeing you next week. Congratulations on another win here tonight, and a great victory and a great overall podium as well. So a great race here tonight, Nathan.
Yep, thanks. You have a good night.
Yep, you too. That was our GT3B winner, Nathan Westland. That is all of our runners and are all of our winners here. So again, if you are here for the Endurance for Amateurs. Same time next week, we are going to be at Motegi Twin Ring, which is a circuit that I love. It's a little bit more of a niche one, but it's a gigantic track. It's huge. Plenty of room for these cars to be making their way around each other, and it's going to be a pretty beautiful night race that we have as well, and a fully illuminated track. So if you're here for the E4A, we'll be back here at the same time next week. Everyone, have a good night.